Welcome to the Inside Maumee Athletics podcast, where we bring you the pulse of the Panthers' athletic scenes.
Welcome back to Inside Maumee Athletics. I'm your host, Jeremy Schneider. I've got a really special one for you today. I had the chance to sit down with the new head football coach at the University of Toledo, Mike Jacobs, a 1997 Maumee graduate who's come home in a big way. Since being named head coach back in December, he's hit the ground running, retaining key pieces on the roster, going out and landing the top-rated transfer class in the MAC, and bringing more than a few familiar faces with him from his time at Mercer. I genuinely could not be more excited to share this conversation with you. But first, let's check in on what's been happening around Maumee Athletics. Coach Pete Schlegel has been quietly building something special with the Maumee Wrestling Club affiliate. The MWCA launched this year with a mission to provide financial support, equipment, and training to local wrestling programs. And it's already hosting off-season clinics and camps aimed at growing the sport and strengthening the wrestling community right here in Maumee and around the area. And last weekend, man, they showed out. The MWCA took 10 wrestlers to a tournament at Lake, and all 10 came home with hardware. All 10? That's pretty darn impressive. Taking first place in their weight classes, Charlie Skeels, Sophia Swanson, and Coach Pat Paz. Finishing second, Coach Schlegel, Chris Rivera, Harrison Skeels, and Kaysen Brown. And rounding out the podium in third, Coach Justin Schneider, Bryce Brown, and Caden Shippey. That's an incredible showing for a brand new club. Congrats to everyone involved. Coach Schlegel and the whole MWCA crew are doing something really cool for Maumee wrestling. My guest today is Toledo Rockets head football coach Mike Jacobs. The Maumee Grad has built one of the most impressive coaching resumes in college football. With head coaching stops at Notre Dame College, Lenoir-Rhyne, and Mercer, he's won 80% of his games, earned 5 Conference Coach of the Year honors, and never, not once in his 10 seasons, has he had a losing year. His most recent stop at FCS Mercer was historic. The Bears went 20-6 with back-to-back Southern Conference titles and 2 NCAA tournament appearances. That kind of track record has people drawing comparisons to Indiana National Championship coach Curt Cignetti. And after talking with Coach Jacobs, you'll understand why. We cover a lot of ground in this one, coming home to Northwest Ohio, sustaining success across 3 different programs. And with the Rocket Spring game this Saturday at the Glass Bowl, there's no better time to hear from the man building the next chapter of Toledo football. Here's my conversation with Coach Mike Jacobs. All right, Coach, when we talked last year, you were building something special at Mercer. Now you're here at Toledo, and you're doing it as a Maumee kid coming home. What's it mean to you to personally lead a program in your own backyard where you grew up?
There's been a tremendous amount of unbelievable coaches that have come through here from all the way back, right? Yeah. I think the career winning percentage of whoever's in this chair is like in the mid 60s. And so there's a lot of responsibility with it, but for me to come home, for me to do this in my backyard, my mom's house is about 7 miles from campus. And I think the coolest thing for me is to re-engage with the community, right? Like I left in 1997 to go to college. Other than short trips back to visit, I've been trying to work on this career and I haven't really lived in town or been back a ton, here and there. And so now to be back in the city that raised me and to really get to see my family and my 2 boys, see a place I got a lot of respect for and see it through their eyes and in a different lens is really cool.
What's been the most exciting thing about coming home? I mean, I guess this question is away from football, away from the job. What has been the most? Has it been going to Tony Pacco's? Has it been going to Sidecut or one of the Metro? I mean, what's been the most exciting part for you, maybe as a husband and as a dad?
Yeah, like I said, kind of seeing it through their lens, right? Like, we're living on a different side of town, and so it's kind of opening up some new stuff. But to get them, and they moved here the first week of March, and they did the zoo and imagination station, like kind of right off the rip. So just to kind of watch them grow and develop in this area. And then I think what's maybe stood out the most is, I always knew people respected the University of Toledo and certainly University of Toledo football, but I don't think I realized the amount of people that aren't University of Toledo grads, but are Toledo people,
right?
that one, care so much, and two, provide just an unbelievable experience for our student athletes.
I think that's something because, I grew up in Columbus and everybody there is an Ohio State fan. I mean, you lived that, you experienced that. People always talk about like other schools, like specifically in the MAC where, everybody's still an Ohio State fan and you're only a UT fan if you're a student or if you work there. That's not true. It's schools like UT, you go down the road to that other school down I-75. I don't know if we're allowed to say the name or not. People really do in these communities latch on to these programs. And you felt that, you've seen that.
Absolutely. And unequivocally, like they just, they gravitate towards it. They know what, so many of them are prominent, and whether they're part of the hospital system here locally or whether there's part of the philanthropy in general, there's just a lot of people that know when the University of Toledo, not specific to athletics, but the university itself is doing well, the city is doing well. And, it's kind of cool. Got to go downtown for the Mud Hens home opener last night and throw out the first pitch. And, just to see the amount of people downtown, right? Like I remember when I was at the Lucas County Fairgrounds in Maumee, and I mean, there may be 8 people at a game, and to see all the bars and restaurants packed out. And, I think they had over 12,000 announced attendance. Just, it's really neat.
How did it feel to be throwing out the first pitch and be top billing over somebody like Joey Chestnut?
I for all that I've accomplished, like heaven forbid, I'm second fiddle to a guy who eats 50 hot dogs at a time, right? I think he did 3 shows yesterday or 3 contests. I heard he ate some pulled pork and some chicken. I can't fathom it, to be honest with you. He clearly trains for again, man, it's one of those, I don't know how you find that skill and then to capitalize on it. So he's a brilliant businessman.
You kind of mentioned the success that you've had and what you've been building. 10 years as a head coach, you've never had a losing season, whether that's at Notre Dame College, Lenoir-Rhyne, or at Mercer. I guess what's at the core of what you bring to every program, and how do you bring that with you to Toledo? Yeah,
I think one, you have to adapt. Everywhere we've been, there's been adaptations, right? It's a new iteration of kind of the way we do things.
Right.
But how we do things are rooted in discipline. They're rooted in an overwhelming and kind of mind-numbing commitment to the basics of the game, running, blocking, and tackling.
Right.
And just doing things at a really high level, and then trying to create a culture in the building where people want to be a part of it, right? It's not easy to play for me. I can be abrasive at times. I get after guys and but we're able to do that when we establish strong relationships and they understand that I'm just trying to get them to where they want to go. If you tell me you want to be a champion or an all-conference guy, then it's my job daily to set the standard. You've set the standard with your goal. It's my job to help you live up to your goal daily and to hold you accountable to what you say you want to be. And so, I think that's how we've done it. Again, man, I'm an offensive line guy. I'm a grunt. So you just, the devil's in the details and it's in the work, and you can't cut any corners.
Right. What is that word culture? What does that mean to you?
It's a big deal, right? Everybody talks about it. No one can define it. We define it in our program. We define it in our program as what you say, what you do, and what you allow. That's how it's defined in Toledo football.
Yeah, I like the what you allow part of that. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I ask a lot of coaches that question, and I get slightly different answers, and that's a slightly different answer. I like that. What is the what do you allow part of that?
Right. Well, okay. We say we want to be one thing. Say we want to be champions, right?
Right.
Our daily habits championship habits precede championships, and then we're only as good as the worst person on the roster. And I don't mean from a player. I mean from a guy that functions. Do you go to class? Sure. Do you sit in the first 2 rows? Are you on time into the building? Are you where you say you need to be? And so do we allow that? So what do we allow to be our standard? And if we ever regress or if we don't hold people to the standard, then that's on us for not getting to where we want to go.
I saw something. This has been in the last couple months, obviously, since you've been hired. But there was something talking about the next big coach, the next big Curt Cignetti. A guy that comes up from a lower level and strikes it big at a Division I program. And your name was mentioned. When I say something like that, when I put you in that level of somebody that's being looked at with that type of, I don't want to say expectation, but that type of potential, what does that mean to you?
I mean, it means we've had great players, and I've had unbelievable assistant coaches that have put us in that position, right? Like the Cignetti comparison happens some, and it's kind of, it makes sense, right? Like we're both the son of coaches. His dad was actually the head coach at West Virginia at some point before my dad, but then, we're coaches' kids at West Virginia. He went off in D1 for a while and then started this journey in Division II at IUP. So it was in the PSAC. Their biggest rivals, Cal PA, where I coached. And then it goes from Division II to FCS to now FBS. And I think that, the comparison makes sense in the terms of like the lineage of it, but he's certainly a one-of-one, and no one will ever be him or what he's been able to accomplish at Indiana. But I think what's really important is like we as a program have very similar goals to what, like JMU accomplished this year, being the team that was a league champion, being the team that from the group of 6 that was, in the talks for the playoffs. And, part of the reason Indiana's been so great is not just because Sig's a great coach. He's unbelievable, right? Like there is only one of him, and he's got great assistants. Right. And a lot of those assistants have been with him since IUP. Same with me. I've got guys that have been with me since Notre Dame College over 10 seasons. But let's face it, their institution and their university alumni and their community provided the resources for him to execute at the highest level, on top of him being a fantastic leader.
Talking about that jump from, Division II, 1AA up to, this FCS level. Toledo's obviously a different animal than Mercer. You've got a bigger roster, bigger budget, bigger spotlight. What's the biggest adjustment so far that you've had to make mentally and operationally in stepping into this job?
Yeah, I don't know that mentally I've shifted much. Like I kind of believe what I believe in, right? Again, there's an adaptability. I'm not stubborn that way.
Yeah.
Although my wife may argue, but I think the biggest thing is just the advent of these general manager roles and the amount of people, right? Like we're the only guys in the building, right, man? Like I've vacuumed floors, I've put table skirts on, like I've delivered the food, I've served the food, like I've made the food, right? Like back in the Notre Dame College days, anybody that's ever been on an official visit, like we would make the breakfast at our house and the OVs would finish, at our home with our family. And so like there's nothing that I haven't done, but now we got help for all that stuff. And I think the advent of just more people in the building, and then certainly like the personnel department and how involved they are and how imperative they are in building out a roster is probably the biggest difference.
You mentioned on the official visits, you end the visit at home with the family eating breakfast. I know that's probably not something is that transferable to a place like Toledo? Is that transferable to a place the size of Toledo? I mean, if not getting the recruits physically in your house, but that same kind of family mentality.
I think so. I think it can be an equalizer and a separator, right? Like it's what we say. Like I only know how to do it one way, and I think that big reason I got into this was to watch people after watching my dad's players and the families and the reverence they had for my father, like and other coaches for that matter. Like that's. We want that, and we want the connectivity. And I think, again, when you're connected off the field and we're all kind of pulling the rope in the same direction, and the parents know that we're in it for their child's best interest, then I think it just means more.
Right. When you walk into a place, what does the Toledo brand mean? I mean, I know you've only been at this for a few months, and we haven't even gone through a full recruiting cycle yet, or you haven't yet at Toledo, but what do you find the Toledo brand means to these recruits, to these kids? It's got to mean something.
Yeah, it's a winner, right? Like, I mean, Toledo in the last 10 seasons has nearly an 80% winning percentage. They got a couple of conference championships. We have 16 active players in the NFL. We'll have as many as, or as few, probably 3 at minimum drafted this weekend or this coming month, when the NFL draft comes. So it's been a program historically that has had remarkable consistency and has proven that whoever is the leader, whether it's Gary Pinkel, Nick Saban, Matt Campbell, Jason Candle, certainly, that it's a program where you can go as a young man and be developed to the highest level and then have a chance at the next level if that's what you're able to do and want to do.
I think I know the answer to this, but does that put more the success and those expectations to live up to that, those standards? Is that pressure or is that opportunity for you?
Listen, I don't know. I've whether it's self-imposed or whatnot, like I've felt that pressure at every job, right? Like my natural instinct is of like survival, right? Like we have to get these guys as good as we can get them. And if we do the things and we treat them right and we coach them hard and they buy in, then the wins are going to come regardless. And they may come sooner, they may come later, but they will come as long as there's a commitment to it. And so I don't know. I try not to worry about job security. It hasn't,
right.
You just kind of work. You go and you put in the work, and when you put in the work, good things happen.
When you were introduced, the UT president said that you were a teacher, and I feel like that goes beyond football. When you think about your player development in the broad sense, how does growing up in a place like Northwest Ohio, growing up in a place like Maumee, how does that shape that philosophy of being a teacher, of being somebody that wants to develop these young men?
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Teaching's communicating, right? It's communicating, and then it's correction and accountability. And I think that my grandfather was a high school coach and teacher for 50 plus years, and so learned a lot about that. And I think you have to, if you can, there's a relatability. And I don't mean like, oh, he played football. I mean, like, there's a relatability to young people that if you can put it in terms that make sense to them, right? Like, I wasn't a very good math student, but I had a tutor at one point that could put it, they put it in a way that made sense to my thick skull, and it works. So I think if you can put things in perspective for young people, and then again, they understand that you're trying to put them in position to highly succeed, I think you get the results you desire.
From 10 years ago, when you first started this journey as a head coach to now, has that changed? Has how you had to interact with the kids? Have kids changed, or do you find that they're still, what you have to do with them is still fairly the same as it was 10 years ago?
No, I don't think that's just the old man shaking his fist at the clouds. If I say everybody's changed, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think they've changed. I think they're more inquisitive in a good way. Like, Hal LaFontaine told me to do this at Maumee football, and I just did it because he was Hal and he was the head coach, right? Sure. Like, there's a little bit more of like providing an understanding or a reasoning, if you will, as to why we're doing. Like, this is the roadmap. This is this is the starting point. Here's the destination. This is kind of how the sausage is made. And I think if you they're more curious that way. They want to know why they're doing things, but they're still young kids, man. They still want to be coached. They still need to be led. They want to be cared for. So I don't think that piece of it's changed. I think just the wantonness for an understanding as to why they're doing stuff is there a little bit more.
Your transfer class was rated number 1 coming in here to Toledo, and you brought 14 guys with you from Mercer, right? How do you blend those guys who are coming up with you, the veterans who know your system, with the guys who you're inheriting at Toledo? How do you make sure that culture doesn't get diluted in the process? How do you make sure that you're not like my way or the highway sort of thing? This is how we're going to do things, no matter how things were done at UT before. And how do you make sure that your culture is there? How do you blend those two sets of guys, I guess?
Yeah, I think like there's accountability for everyone, right? Like there's no preferential treatment. There's no like, listen, anybody in this program can get hollered at on any day by me. Like, right. It just is what it is. And so like we're gonna we're going to set the standard. We're going to hold them accountable. Now, what those Mercer guys provide is they provide a megaphone in the locker room. They know that what we do and how we do it works. And so when there's, well, why are we doing it this way? Why are we hitting again? Like what? Well, no, man, like this is where he's trying to get you to. Just trust that it'll work. And I promise you it'll get you to where you want to go. And so, I think they jumpstart the culture rather than deter it, because they can echo the things that we want because they know that it works.
Right. What does it mean to you and your culture that 14 guys from Mercer, and I know it's a two-way street. You had to want them at Toledo. They had to be a good fit at Toledo. But what does that say about you and your culture that 14 guys from your previous stop wanted to go from sunny Georgia up to kind of chilly, cold Northwest Ohio and buy in again to your culture? What does that say about it?
I think that they're competitors, right? Like there's the nature of like, can I do this at the next level? Same with me, right? Like, does it equate, right? Like it translate. So I think there's some of that. And then two, it's encouraging because I think that it shows that relationships can still matter. Now, everyone's got a financial threshold, right? Like, we're damn lucky to sign Andrew Zock, right? Like that kid had double the money we were able to offer him in rev share to go to an SEC or Colorado. And like he chose us. And our running back, CJ Miller, he had Rutgers and Boston College and some of these other schools. Like they had other Power 4 opportunities, and the relationship piece and kind of the consistency and like kind of the known commodity of who we are and that it works, I think mattered to them and their families.
That's really interesting to hear about these guys and when you put it that way, with all of those layers to it. It's not just simply a guy going from Mercer to Toledo. There's all these different entities involved in it as well. And there's the whole rev share, the financial part of it that wasn't there 10 years ago. How has that changed everything for you? Like it's not just as simple as, hey, this guy works here. I mean, now you have the ability to pull guys in who are college players, but there's a whole extra level to it now too.
I think it's tough. I think retaining kids is one of the hardest things to do, right? Like that's the hardest piece. There's just so many people in their ear. It's not even so much the kids, man. It's a lot of these, and I'm not anti-agent or anything, but some of these guys aren't on the up and up, and everybody is trying to benefit from them having the ability to earn off of their ability and their name, image, and likeness. And so, I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces is that there's just, it used to kind of be the family and the head coach. There may have been an aunt or an uncle that was involved, or, whoever the parent was. But, now there's a lot more entities involved in pressing kids to make certain decisions, or at least in their ear about what they need to do. And so I think that's a bit different.
And that's where having the relationship with the kids and having that good culture comes in, doesn't it? Where everybody's going to have somebody in their ear, but you can also be in their ear, and they trust you. They know this program. That's why part of the reason why it's so important, isn't it?
I believe so. Yes.
Started spring practice on March the 17th, the other M. Spring game coming up here in a couple weekends. What has your first experience practicing with these guys, being on those fields? What has that been like? And can you talk about your expectations and your feelings coming up to that spring game, being able to perform at the Glass Bowl in front of fans for the first time?
Yeah, I've been, I'm not necessarily like surprised, but I'm encouraged by what I've seen. Like the players are competitive. We've had really good practices. The tempo, I think the best compliment we can get is if you came out to watch practice, you'd be like, man, I can't believe this team's only been together for 4 months, right?
Okay.
And I think, and we've heard that, from multiple people, and I think that's a testament to their work ethic. That's a testament to their practice habits. And as long as we can continue to build on that, then, again, we'll have a chance to be in every game we play. The goal going into spring was for it to be highly competitive, for us to put them in some stressful situations. Cause a lot of, there's there's 51 guys that stayed and there's 51 guys that came in. And so we got to see who these dudes are and we got to know what they're capable of. And we put a lot on them. We threw a lot at them. And then, we'll start to pare it back some and get into game planning and do all those things. But, the goal is one day better. I want to see daily improvement in what we do and how we function. And I think we've at least started that. And I think that's the framework for future success.
As you continue to work with these guys and work with this team through the spring game, and then getting into the summer and then getting into like the actual season, what does a successful first season at Toledo look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, we have high goals. I don't necessarily want to share what the team goals are, but like we expect to be competitive in every game. We do things. We will play football in a manner that is disciplined. We'll have a commitment to running the ball. We'll have a commitment to stopping the run. That I feel strongly that we should, give ourselves an opportunity to be in every game that we play. That was very coach speaky of me. Like we expect to win, man. I don't know what else to say. Like,
no, I get it.
I expect to win every time we go on the field, naively or not. Like that's my expectation. That's just kind of that's how I'm wired, right? Like I understand that some challenges are greater than others, right? When you're at Mercer and you got to walk into Alabama, like I get it. Like, like everything in the universe would have to go right for us to have an opportunity. But like I expect to be in position to be competitive in every game.
People who come out to watch UT football, what's the impression? What do you hope they see UT football? What do you think? What do you want them to say when they leave a game or leave, watching UT? UT football is this. What's the impression you hope they get?
Fast, physical, and disciplined, and together.
Well, I think that's all I got for you, Coach. Keep it short and sweet for you. I do appreciate your time today. Good luck this season. Thanks again to Coach Jacobs for making the time. Hearing him talk about what goes into building a winning program, the culture, the accountability, the relationships, it's pretty easy to see why Toledo went out and brought him home. He's stepping into a program with 16 consecutive non-losing seasons and 13 bowl game appearances during that stretch. Now that's a standard. But if the last 10 years of his career are any indication, Coach Jacobs isn't intimidated by high standards, he sets them. This week's Panthers of the Week are Kurt McClurg and Rachel Hostetler, the athletic trainers who keep our student athletes healthy, safe, and on the field every single day. These two don't always get the spotlight they deserve, but I can tell you, our coaches know, and our athletes know, Kurt and Rachel are two of the best in the business. The work they put in behind the scenes, before games, after games, and in between, man, it matters more than most people realize. So Kurt, Rachel, thank you. Maumee Athletics wouldn't be what it is without you. And that'll do it for this week's Inside Maumee Athletics. Big thank you again to Coach Jacobs for sitting down with me. And be sure to catch the Toledo spring game this Saturday at the Glass Bowl if you're looking for something to do. If you enjoyed this episode, do me a favor, rate and review the show wherever you listen. It goes a long way in helping people find us. You can reach me at InsideMaumeeAthletics@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook by searching Inside Maumee Athletics. I'll be back soon with another great conversation. Until then, thanks for listening.